Hey guys, and welcome back to another one by me, Spectral Blood. So happy to have you guys back. We're gonna be, okay, today I'm gonna be once again playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist. However, this time I'll be doing something a little bit different. You see, I've run across plenty of duelists and, me going to weekly tournaments and all. Yeah, I go to weekly tournaments. Actually, give me one sec. I'll be right back. Alright, so you saw that I just grabbed something off my entertainment center. Well, I grabbed 2 deck boxes. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do one video. Give me one sec here. Let me do something here. Let's do that. Okay, cool. So I still have the background music for the game going, as you can see. But I want to pop this open real quick, and I want to show y'all something. Alright, this deck that I've got in my hand right now, it is a Pendulum deck. It's specifically a DD deck, as it's called. Can't see it because of the glare. But, yeah. So, what I'm going to do today is, yes, I am going to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! But I've noticed a lot of people either don't know how to use pendulums or don't like pendulums. One or the other. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to, in the game, go through a pendulum tutorial and possibly an extra deck tutorial specifically for new players. I'm having issues, sorry. Now, this right here is my extra deck. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 13 cards in my extra deck. Now, the rules may have changed, but as far as I know, you're only allowed 15 cards in total, tournament standard, in your extra deck. Now, here's something different about Pendulum monsters is, yes, you have Pendulum monsters that go in your main deck, right? Such as Savant Kepler. Dang it. Yeah, such as Savant Kepler. He's a Pendulum effect monster. Well, just like any other monster, you have normal monsters, effect monsters, etc. Well, also though, you have the rare, occasional Pendulum Synchro and Pendulum Exceeds. Well, you don't run across those too often, especially in this game that we're about to play, but I want, especially new players, to have some level of grasp. Don't worry about this deck. This is just like Fabled. This is a Fabled deck. Can't see it because the glare, dang it. Either way, that was Fabled Grimro. But yeah, don't worry about that. That's not what we're covering today. That's a whole nother can of worms. I don't fully understand it. I actually just got that deck not too long ago. Now granted, I'm not the best duelist in the world in real life. I like to think that I'm pretty decent, but I'll be the first to admit I'm far from the best. I would love to be the best, but that's just not gonna happen yet. Let me shrink this down again. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hello. Oh, I've made mistakes. Video capture. There we go. Whee! I'm tiny. Alright, but anyway, one of my friends recently got a pendulum deck, and he wasn't entirely sure how to use that pendulum deck. So, and I've seen several other duelists that are essentially the same way. Now, pendulums, I will say I love the original game, you know, with just fusions and stuff like that. But when they came out, but when I got back into the tournaments and they had pendulums released, I was enthralled. I was amazed at the stuff they had come up with, and I absolutely love it. I have to check my phone every now and again. I have plans to go. I have plans to go somewhere later today, so I've got to be careful with time. So, like I said, we are going to do a pendulum tutorial today. Just so I can kind of show you guys like what pendulums are and how they're supposed to work. Yes, Andrew, I'm talking to you. This isn't just to single you out, but I really want you to learn how to use pendulums because the deck that you got is a lot better than what you used to have. You just got to know how to use them right. No, in the last tournament that me and one of my best friends went to, you know, we were just having a free game before the tournament started because we had just gotten some new cards. So of course we're gonna try them out. Well, this guy absolutely destroys me, and I've beaten him quite a few times in the past. But this deck he was using, it was a pendulum deck. And he absolutely just dominated this game. And it was absolutely crazy. So, I'm going to go over to the Pendulum Monster tutorial. Mirror the Star Bearer. Okay. Anyway. This lesson will teach you about pendulum monsters. These cards can be used as either monster cards or spell cards. They can be placed as spell cards in the pendulum zone field, which is no longer here, by the way. That's just because this game hasn't been updated to fit new tournament standard. But now they are placed down here on the sides in the actual spell and trap zone. So just bear that in mind from here on. They're actually placed down here now. Yeah, I know. There are 2 pendulum zones on each side. Like I said, they are now in the actual spell and trap zone. They took away the pendulum zones. Which I don't fully understand that, but, you know, whatever. This is where you place pendulum monsters from your hand as spell cards during main phase 1 or 2. First, let's try to place a pendulum monster face up in an empty zone. So, place in the pendulum zone, which, yeah. If one pendulum zone is already occupied, you can still place one in the other zone. Since they act as spell cards, you can place more than one in a turn. So let's do that. Once both of your pendulum zones have pendulum monsters placed, you can perform a special pendulum summon. But first, let's take a look at the cards. Since they have so much information, because they have 2 text boxes, the one that becomes active depends on how the card is placed. If you have an active pendulum monster as a if you activate your pendulum monster as a spell in the pendulum zone, it stays on the field and you can use its pendulum effect written in the top box. Let me move this over here. Alright, so right here, this is the effect that matters if it's placed in the pendulum zone, basically. You can also summon or set a pendulum monster by placing it in the monster zone. So if it's placed down here, then your standard text box right here is what's going to matter. So if I summon this, then it's going to be this text box. When it's summoned as a monster, its monster effect, if any, will be active. Be sure of how you place your pendulum monster. Once it has been summoned or set as a monster or placed in a spell as a spell in the pendulum zone, it cannot be changed to the other type while it's on the field. Now there is an exception to this that the tutorial does not state. And I'm going to pull out one of my personal cards as an example. I just got to find it. I should have had this prepared earlier, because this is more a lesson than anything. Okay, here we go. Here we go. There's one. Give me a sec here. And there's two. Alright, there are exceptions to this, and I'm going to state how. There are certain cards, spells, traps, etc., such as Pendulum Switch. This card, I can target one card in my Pendulum Zone and special summon it, or I can target one Pendulum monster in my Monster Zone and place it in my Pendulum Zone. So there's an exception. So basically, I can take a monster that's been placed over here, and I can put it in my Monster Zone and vice versa. And then there's cards such as this guy, Chaos King Apocalypse. If he's his pendulum effect is I can banish 2 DD monsters from my graveyard and special summon this card from my Pendulum Zone. So basically, if I've got 2 DD monsters over here, then I can place them over here and take him from here and put him in the Monster Zone. So there are exceptions to this rule. Just keep that in mind. If a Pendulum monster would be sent to the graveyard, well, specifically from the field to the graveyard. So if this card's in my hand, if this Pendulum monster is in my hand, then it goes to the graveyard if an effect destroys it. But if it's on the field and it gets destroyed, it would go to my extra deck instead. So pretty standard. Well, not really even standard. Alright, example right there. This is true if the Pendulum monster was placed as a spell or as a monster card. Now we'll show you how Pendulum Summon works. First, you will need a Pendulum monster in each of the Pendulum Zones, right here. You can Pendulum Summon once per turn in your main phase. Check the Pendulum scales located on the sides of the Pendulum monsters. So this one right here. Usually both Pendulum scales are the same. In one Pendulum Summon, you can summon as many monsters as you want they can come from your hand or from the face-up Pendulum monsters in your extra deck. The level of the Pendulum monsters you summon has to be between the Pendulum scales in the Pendulum Zone. The Pendulum scales are a 3 and a 7 currently. That means you can Pendulum Summon any number of monsters between the levels of 4 and 6. So 3 and 7. So 1 up, 1 down. I really hope you guys are following. This is a tutorial that's going on YouTube, so you can always back it up later. So no big deal. Alright, let's try it out. Okay, so I have a 3 and I have a 7. So that means a 4 and a 6. So now we're going to Pendulum Summon. A 4, a 4, a 4, and a 6. So we're going to put this guy in defense. We're going to put this guy in attack. We're going to put this guy in attack. And we're going to put this guy in attack. Alright, see, pretty simple. You can only Pendulum Summon once per turn, but can summon as many monsters as you want at that time within the level range. Or the pendulum range, I should say. Pendulum monsters are monster cards while they're in the hand. Hand, deck, monster, graveyard, and extra deck. When a pendulum monster is played in a pendulum zone, it becomes a spell and activates its pendulum effect. Pendulum monsters that would go to the graveyard from the field would go face up in the extra deck instead. They can be pendulum summoned just like the monsters in your hand. Pendulum monsters do not go in the extra deck when sent from the hand or deck, for instance when using pendulum monsters as Xyz material. Pendulum monsters make it easier to Xyz, Synchro, and Fusion summon, especially if you pendulum summon more pendulum monsters. Synchro summons Synchro summons become even better with pendulum summons. Using a pendulum monster as a synchro material sends it to the extra deck so you can pendulum summon it again. Fusion summons use pendulum monsters on the field as fusion material, will also get sent to the extra deck. They will still go to the graveyard if you use them straight out of your hand, however. You can also just attack with all of the pendulum monsters for maximum damage. That is how pendulum monsters work. Alright, so I hope you guys get it. Go ahead and check out the next video if you want to see how the actual story over here progresses in the campaign. So we're still in this series right here, but feel free to check it out. It's going to be uploaded right after this video. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I love you guys so much, and I really hope that this tutorial was helpful, especially for new players, especially for new Pendulum players. Alright, I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will see you guys next time. Later!